Our new state-of-the-art training facility is an example of how we maintain superior training and technical experience. EAB continues to meet the challenges of a dynamic industry and marketplace while evolving through technology and innovation and maintaining a healthy work-life balance.
Good afternoon. My name is Sim with AABC, and I'd like to welcome you to today's Staff Talk webinar, Document Control, Exploring Workflow and Software Solutions. And thank our sponsors, EAB Training, for supporting this session. I'd like to cover a few items before we get started. Presenters will be holding questions until the end of presentation, but we encourage you to submit them at any given time using the Q&A button. If you happen to be experiencing technical problems during the webinar, please use the chat function to inform the panelists, and our producer, William, will assist you. The presentation is being recorded and will be available for viewing in about a week. In terms of continuing education credit, everyone in attendance for the full webinar will receive a certificate of attendance sent to their email within 24 hours. And finally, if you are a certified TBE, TBT, CXA, or EMP, your CEUs for attending this webinar will be automatically uploaded to your respective portals after the webinar. I'd like to welcome the speakers for today's session, Matthew Little and David Rodriguez. Matthew began working at Engineered Air Balance Company Incorporated in 1993 as a part-time field technician in training. In 2000, Matt moved into the role of field document support and eventually document control manager in 2013, where he continues in that role. David Rodriguez has 15 years of experience in the construction industry, beginning as a field engineer on commercial and industrial projects. After 3 years in the field, he transitioned to the testing and balancing industry, joining Engineered Air Balance in document control and estimating. He's dedicated to improving office-to-field communication through workflow enhancement and technology solutions. Without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to the speakers. Please take it over.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you to everyone that's joining this webinar today. Okay, so I'm going to jump to these slides here and begin with our introduction page. And with that, we'll jump into the presentation. So what we're going to be discussing today is document control workflows and utilizing solutions within your organization that can improve the efficiency and the accuracy of transferring information, whether it be in the initial bidding phase of a project all the way through closeout. So document control may mean something a little bit different for everybody's organization. But the way we look at it here and the way our workflows work is typically we're going to be involved in most aspects of operations, again, whether it be in the bidding, whether it be creating your field takeoffs, or whether it be communicating with your field technicians. So we're going to cover some workflows that can be incorporated, maybe not so much on the specific software level, maybe just with processes and workflows, and then jump into some specific software such as Bluebeam Review and Autodesk Construction Cloud, which we utilize. So with that, the output that you can provide, technicians or even your estimates is only as good as the input. And so we put a lot of importance in making sure that we're dealing with the most up-to-date documents. And so with that, we really try to drill down into the importance of timing and making sure that whether you're in the estimating or whether you're in the submittal review phase of a project or the construction phase, that we kind of understand where we are in the timeline, and we are leveraging that to know where our points of contact will be to obtain the latest documents, whether it be your plans, your submittals, RFIs, or anything that could impact your workflow at that time. And so just generally with that, a lot of things that we'd like to cover here with in regards to workflow is what are going to be the best practices for gathering that project documentation, no matter at what point of the process that you are. Some generalized items here that we could follow is determining your points of contact. What are going to be your points of contact for each phase? Whether you be hired directly to the owner, or if you're maybe working for a general contractor or mechanical contractor, determining your points of contact at that phase that you're in the project is critical. And so that's kind of our starting point before we kind of reach out and try to obtain these documents that we're going to be working with. And then also understanding that there are software solutions out there for you after you've obtained those points of contact, whether it be bidding boards, whether that be facilities management softwares or project management softwares that are hosted by either GCs or project managers. So first we'll start with the estimating phase. Leveraging bidding board websites that are commonly used amongst contractors is a huge advantage. They typically will give you access to all of the latest documents, any RFIs or addendums that have been issued for a project. And once you pretty much understand how to navigate one site, you're going to have a good idea of how to navigate most of them. So we just kind of like to include that because we want to really empower our teams that are involved with document control to have all of that access and obtain all of the latest information that will be utilized for creating an accurate proposal or an accurate bid for your project. So we have some bulleted items here. We're not going to go through each one, but you will have access to this slide and incorporate these as you like within your organization. And just to cover a few bidding platforms, many of you that may be in the bidding phase or estimating phase of your company are familiar with these platforms, but we just wanted to put some on the screen and make everybody aware in case it's something you haven't seen and your market may have something different that is widely used. But just empower your teams to be familiar with these websites. Typically, the contractors that are looking for bids or estimates are providing access to the users. And so just understanding, how to navigate one, you're going to have a good idea of how to navigate most of them. They're all built a little different, but it's very useful to get familiar with these platforms. And then with that, you may be now in the design review and submittal phase. So say you are contracted on a project, the point of access to documents at that point, it may be a little bit different. At this point, maybe the architect teams are those that are driving the submittal process or are directing the spec manual. So establishing your contacts and gaining, again, visibility to those software solutions out there is very important in this phase, again, and that may be different from what you had in your estimating phase. So again, understanding where you are in the phase of the project is really important, and understanding that a different team member, I guess, within the project, in this case, the architect team, may now be the ones that are hosting that. So just be aware of that, create that contact and try to get that access as soon as possible so that you're dealing with the latest information. And then finally, we get to the construction phase of your document control. Typically in this phase, software solutions and the flow of information is handled between the construction managers or the general contractors. So just as general good practice and something we like to follow within document control is trying to create those contacts. Again, whether you're contracted to the owner or maybe the mechanical contractor themselves, but just leveraging the fact that the possibility is there that they are using a software solution for access to all of the documents is a huge advantage. And so we always add that to our document control processes to leverage that software platform. And these are a few of those websites that that are available that general contractors tend to use. Here further in the presentation, we're going to go through Autodesk. That is actually something that we utilize, but there's a host of platforms out there. So becoming familiar with these is a huge advantage to your team. And similar to the bidding platforms, or similar to some of the platforms that are utilized for submittal processes, they're all typically built around a similar model. So once you know how to, access RFIs in one, or maybe the drawings in another, the skills are pretty transferable. So it's a huge advantage if you're making yourself aware of these products, and whether you get access to them, or maybe you request a demo to just familiarize yourself with the products, it could put you at a huge advantage within your team. So we really wanted to just cover that up front, because before getting to any specific, software solutions when dealing with plans or implementing workflows within your estimating or field takeoff processes, we find it very important, just as general good document control practice, to be working with the latest approved documents for your project. So we just wanted to kind of get that out of the way first. And if we want to expand on any specific document control workflows, that's definitely something we can look at down the line. So now speaking about one software in particular, Bluebeam Review. This is a software that we use heavily for multiple phases in a project, whether it be estimating or creating field takeoffs, as well as field employees accessing projects. So we're going to cover some really good tips within Bluebeam. If it's not a software that you're utilizing or considering, we're going to go over some good tips here, and maybe some features that could work for your organization. So just some general ways that we're leveraging Bluebeam within our organization. We utilize it for performing estimating takeoffs. We utilize it for comparing plan revisions, determining scope impacts. We also there are tools within Bluebeam that we utilize for our design reviews, or maybe creating our tab plans and verifying, I guess, putting together any design clarifications that need to happen by exporting plan tables to Excel files and running calculations, as well as using the Bluebeam's markup tools to identify different systems on plans, or implementing EAB specific codifying processes on equipment that will be tested. And so just to begin here, just some tips to get started with Bluebeam Review, if it is something that you've already implemented or are considering obtaining for your teams. How you organize any software, or how you set your initial settings for a software, can set you up for success, or it can cause you some hurdles as you're working through the growing pains of utilizing the new software. So we really like to focus on setting up, getting your personal settings or your personnel settings applied that are going to enhance your workflows as much as possible. And then as well, standardizing all of these settings across your teams. It really helps the synchronicity between all the teams, and just streamlining workflows. So we cover that here. When you get this presentation, you can jump through the different settings and just some of these that we've set up as good tips to get started with. Bluebeam does allow you to create profiles, so you could have maybe one profile set for different members of your team, whether they be estimating or if they're performing field takeoffs. There are customized profiles that can be transferred between different machines, and so that becomes a huge advantage for consistency's sake. There are also tool chests, and these are very important for us here. There are standardized markups that you can create within a tool chest. There are estimating counts that you can create in a tool chest, And any customization that happens in one tool chest can be transferred across different machines and different users. And again, just building that consistency within your company and kind of enhancing those document control workflows that you have going on. And then we'll also explore some use cases for utilizing Bluebeam Studio, which is essentially their cloud sharing platform that users offline or online can access to collaborate. So we'll begin with going over the bidding workflow and performing estimating takeoffs. So again, speaking on tool chests and creating a tool chest that matches your estimating needs, that's something that's very important and something that you can share amongst multiple estimators if you have a team of one or more estimators. There are different methods of applying counts. You can do this either by visual inspection or by leveraging some of the tools that Bluebeam has within the software, either by image search or searching text. There are multiple scaling tools and measuring tools available for calculating lengths, angles, area, volumes, whether you need to get square footage prices or you need to determine volumes in rooms for design reviews. There are a lot of tools here that could assist with that. And there are also tools for maximizing your data by utilizing custom columns. So there are custom calculations that can be applied to markups or counts. If you have quantities and maybe hourly rates that you apply to individual equipment, then you can actually create custom columns and have formulas that will streamline that process of getting those totals tallied for you. So here we're going to present a few videos for demonstrating some of these workflows, beginning with some of the search functions when you are estimating. So here we're going to perform a search on a diffuser or grill image. And once that search is completed, we're going to apply a count of our standard equipment counts here. After we've counted all of and searched for all of the diffusers, we are going to insert a table on the page that can be used by the estimator to either transfer to a customized count sheet with all of your cost totals, or this also can be used within Bluebeam to add custom columns and assign your costs on your mechanical plans. So there's multiple ways that you could utilize this tool, but the search function is very useful. There's also another search option here where you can search text. So we will demonstrate here maybe searching the equipment tags on a mechanical schedule and applying the equipment counts across the tags that were located on the page. So here we're going to time lapse after an individual operation is done, and we'll apply a table to all of our counts that were found on this single page. And there's a lot of customization that's available for these tables. The quantities, again, the columns that you see within those tables can be customized to include maybe your price per equipment, your hourly rate, or it could also just be provided to your takeoff department or your field technicians to get a general idea of what is in scope and what maybe is not in scope. And so that becomes a useful tool for communicating downstream to other departments that are working on your projects. Another useful tool that we utilize here in Bluebeam is the ability to perform document comparisons. So I'm sure most on this webinar are familiar with the changes in blueprints, whether it be through ASIs, addendums, RFIs, and one of those tasks that we need to do here is compare what changed. 100% of the time that all of the changes are clouded on the plans. And so having tools that overlay or compare the documents for us are a huge advantage. And so we'll demonstrate one of the tools available in Bluebeam that allows you to overlay the plans and identify through colors what might have changed on the page. In this case, there are some clouded areas that the architect or engineer has indicated on the plans, but depending on how many changes have happened, whether you're dealing with a construction set and now you're dealing with maybe 20 or 30 ASIs later, the clouds will usually only apply to the latest change. And so this is a great way of easily identifying where those changes may be if they're not identified on the plan for you. Next, we'll discuss data connections and exporting plan and custom column data. So this is a tool that allows you to export information from the PDF drawing or whether it be the specifications or whether it be a table on the schedules. Bluebeam has a tool to export that data into an Excel file or many other file types that could be useful for you. So we'll demonstrate a few here, but just a few examples would be the plan schedules, submittal schedules, or any custom columns or calculations that we discussed earlier that may be applied to equipment counts or quantities or price or hourly rates. So here we'll demonstrate exporting a plan table to an Excel file here. And this is a tool that we utilize often for performing our design reviews. For instance, if we're calculating velocities on designed inlet sizes, or whether that be on the plan schedule or in the submittals provided for, let's say, for instance, terminal units, and we need to do a design review on inlet velocities to make sure that all the terminal units selected are in range. This is a very useful tool because now we get to work in an Excel workspace and apply any formulas that we may need to get that information. This also really does help us to build our field takeoffs. And so depending on whether you have a software solution for building any kind of a database or field takeoffs, pulling information such as equipment marks or design CFMs and transferring that to either your software solution or an Excel file is a huge advantage, and just streamlines that process and removing yourself from having to do that manually. So there's a host of different advantages to having a tool like this, and adding that into different workflows could help streamline your process. Next, we'll go over some of the markups and sequencing tools that Bluebeam offers. These are tools that we utilize heavily for creating field use takeoffs. And our takeoffs would typically consist of issuing a set of mechanical drawings to our field technicians that contain markups to identify the scope that they are working on, to codify equipment that is going to relate to our testing and balancing information, or also to identify systems by tagging equipment that may not be tagged on the plan already. So these tools are depending on your process for creating field takeoffs, this tool could be a very useful tool for you. So we'll demonstrate a couple of markup procedures that we follow. And the extent of your markups, it's really up to you. We mark up our plans pretty heavily by identifying the different system types by air type. So in this case here, we are highlighting the supply duct of a unit and also highlighting the downstream devices and terminal units so that field technicians can, walk into a job and easily navigate the different ductwork and air streams that they need to be working on at that time. Here we are also including sequences. So we have a standard process of codifying equipment that is going to relate to our readings on our tab report. And so this is a really good way of identifying equipment on the plan, as well as including call outs to the different equipment so that it's easily visible for the field technicians. And we'll talk about this a little bit down the line, but essentially what we are doing is preparing the blueprint that the field technician will be accessing on their iPad utilizing Autodesk Construction Cloud. But the huge advantage here, again, is navigating, getting to a job site, and just having as much information as available to you to know where your scope is and how to identify that scope and relate it back to your final report. This is also something that we've received a lot of good feedback from our clients, because it easily identifies the technical information to the mechanical blueprint. So again, these sequencing tools could be used for takeoffs. It could be used for other workflows that are they're utilized within your company, whether it be on the tab side or commissioning or other workflows that your company may utilize. Okay. And from here, I'm going to kick this over to Matt Little for the Autodesk portion.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my piece today to cover is going to be Autodesk Construction Cloud. As you can see on the slide, Autodesk Construction Cloud is a cloud-based construction management and collaboration solution. We're specifically going to focus on the piece that we're using today. Next slide. So this is kind of a bit of showing the ecosystem of Autodesk Construction Cloud. The nice thing about Construction Cloud and Autodesk products is you don't have to buy into the entire ecosystem. For example, we're currently using Autodesk Build in the Docs feature at Engineered Air Balance. So there are other products here that may or may not, work for your business needs. But today, this is what we're focusing on: is Build and Docs. So question is, how are we leveraging Construction Cloud to produce our better outcomes? As stated in the intro, I've been here since the early 90s, and we were doing everything, paper, highlighters to color everything. And eventually we were scanning drawings to export them over to the client. So everybody loves change, I know. I did not, but I've embraced it since I've seen the advantages both Bluebeam has provided us of being able to get rid of paper and the highlighting features, and then also just getting rid of the paper in general, not having to keep up these documents. So the nice thing about Construction Cloud is it's helping centralize all of our project-related documents that from start to finish on a project. So when we send a project out to the field, we're able to basically keep all of our documentation in one place so that our field technicians have everything available to them that they need without necessarily having to VPN and tie into a server. Other advantages: collaborating within our teams and other contractors. So for example, whenever we have multiple teams out on a site, you can easily invite these team members to the project and there's different levels of access that are available. But essentially that way you could literally put multiple teams on a job, send them into different areas of the building, and then having them access and working on this at the same time. And then as far as collaborating with other contractors, we'll kind of go over some of the examples, but one of the great examples is that you could easily highlight an area of concern and export that, or invite that contractor to see those issues. And you can control their level of access there as well. But I think the nice thing is being able to show the contractor the issues you're seeing on the actual plans through Autodesk Build. Let's see. And of course, one of the big questions that's always gets asked is, well, what about if we don't have internet connectivity? Okay, well, that's where pretest planning is going to come in. Whenever you're basically setting up a project, you're going to invite the team to the project. The pretest planning is going to involve them essentially grabbing their iPad or whichever mobile device they might be using, and then syncing the project to their device. So best practices is going to be to sync the project before you step on site, where you know you've got good internet connectivity. I realize on a lot of job sites, that's going to be an issue, especially if you're working in really highly secured buildings and things of that nature. Ability to create as-built drawings in the field. This was always an issue that we struggled with back when we were dealing with paper drawings. We're sending a set of paper drawings out in the field back, 10, 15 years ago, and the drawings are getting beat up. The level of markups that are happening on those drawings, sketchy sometimes. These drawings get brought back, and then we're having to try to implement all these changes onto our actual, a digital set that we've maybe scanned, and then we're trying to export that to the client. It's just not really efficient. So being able to actually mark up the drawings through Bluebeam by using the Autodesk build in the field, where they can mark up, they can do all their markups on the iPad, which we'll go over. Being able to close those drawings out and provide a professional looking final set of drawings to the client, I think is critical. And that goes to what David was saying. The feedback we've gotten from our clients is once we made that switch, they loved it. So we get very little complaints in terms of the way the quality of the drawings look these days. And then lastly, ability to track deficiencies found throughout the course of the project. It simply just gives you the workspace that you need. And when you've got multiple teams on a site, that's always going to provide you additional challenges of trying to collaborate and get everybody's notes together. Construction Cloud is going to give you one workspace to accomplish that in. And again, these can be exported into logs, which you can share with the contracts and owners. So kind of like what David did, we're going to briefly run through some of these advantages and then show you some videos. So the basic way that the Autodesk build is going to work is that you're going to want to build the project like in Office, and you're going to want to use the web for this. Okay. Yes, there's an iOS Android version for mobile, but that's generally geared for the mobile experience. And you're going to want to do all your administrative work through the web. It just has, it's the way it's been designed and built, and it's how it's intended to be used. There is some functionality through mobile, but when you're trying to add teams and users and things of that nature, you're going to find there's more tools available to you through the web. So we're really it's kind of a hybrid. We're using two different methods to get there. So we're going to run through some of the advantages so you can kind of visually see what we're talking about. So one of the big advantages is version sets. So this project, for example, we needed to send, we have some out of town projects, and we needed to send a guy out to a project to walk the job and just check for project site readiness. So we haven't even started the project at this point internally to build it. So what we did was we set them up with a site walk set of drawings. So that way the guy can make notes of any issues that he's seeing. Maybe he needs to get with the engineer and some of the contractors before we ever step foot on the site. Then the advantage of that, of having multiple version sets, is we don't need to set up a new project. We can just add a new version set when we're ready to man the job, and that'll be our working takeoff set. And then we can go past that. If this is a long project that's very challenging and is seeing price change requests, ASIs, things of that nature, sometimes it's just easier to upload the new drawing that's affected rather than trying to incorporate all of these changes into your existing takeoff set. You can accomplish both things. It really depends on how you want to approach it. So project files. This is where it's really nice to be able to upload additional documentation. It's not just a site to host your drawings. For example, we've got specifications here for the project. We can upload all our submittals, RFIs, things of that nature. If you want to put your bidding documents on the site, you can. That's totally up to you. It's going to depend on how your organization's best practices are. In our case, we don't tend to put all of that documentation there. We have other places we can place that, but that's up to individual users. So DRL items, this is where it really becomes helpful with collaboration. You're on the project, you're seeing issues, you got a team out here, they're running into an issue, maybe the box is not installed. I think that's what we've got here. So you can simply drop these stamps. And so these stamps that you're seeing, these can be custom tailored to your business, your organization's needs. There are like standardized stamps that Build offers, but there is some level of customization that can be done. And it's generally recommended if you're making the switch to Build, it's generally recommended that you're going to want to go through and do all that customization up front. But it's a great way to place notes about whatever the issue that you're seeing. Let's see, there's the place to put your name and a lot of detail there. Go ahead, next slide. So as-built markup. So how often do we walk on site and think they decide to add something that we didn't previously know about, or they've made a change we're unaware of? The user has the ability to come in here and make a note that, hey, they've installed a new diffuser here. Gives him some place to maybe do a follow-up and see, hey, was there a drawing? Was there an ASI missed? Are we compliant with the most latest and greatest drawings? That kind of gives you an opportunity to do that. And then ultimately, that can turn into, let's say there wasn't a drawing issued and this was an accepted change by the engineer. This is something we would turn into our markup when we're trying to close out the project. Our document control team is going to look at the drawings and go through and look for all these kinds of changes and then incorporate all the field markups. So your set that's going to go to the client hopefully isn't going to look like that markup. This is a crude little drawing kind of threw together because that's the reality working in the construction environment. You're not going to take the time to make it look super professional. You're just trying to get the change on paper. We can do all the pretty cleanup work in Bluebeam post when we're trying to close out the report. Traverse locations, these are critical, especially if you're revisiting a site. Maybe you're going back and doing a rebalance, going out to check and make sure that everything's working okay, and you're not sending the exact same team to the site. This is a great place to mark where these traverse locations are, codify them however you need to so it makes sense, correlates properly in your actual report. And I mean, it speaks for itself. It's a very strong tool there. And this was a custom stamp that we had made. Adding photos. This is where it's very helpful whenever you need to share an issue that you're seeing. Maybe it's with a supervisor back in the office, or maybe it's a contractor. In this case, I took a picture of the diffuser. It noted it that it was the incorrect style of diffuser installed. Picture, it speaks 1,000 words. Very, very helpful. You're not just having to take it with your phone. In this case, we're using iPads, iOS for Autodesk Build, and fortunately they've got cameras in these, so it's all very easy to integrate into the actual project. So let's tidy this up a bit. So Bluebeam review, again, like I said, I worked here for a very long time. We were doing everything the hard way with highlighters, and Bluebeam really just took us to the next level in terms of having a professional looking set of drawings. As David mentioned, great platform for bidding. You know, if you're bidding, you know, $100,000 project, massive project, the bidding tools are going to be super, super helpful. It's going to save you time. Ability to comparing sheets when drawings have been reissued. There's so many features that Bluebeam has that we haven't covered today. We literally just do a presentation on Bluebeam on its own, but we wanted to be able to kind of show both of these products because they do work together really well. Ability to collaborate via studio sessions. So I'm not sure that if we went under that too deep, but this would give you the ability to have multiple, let's just take from a takeoff standpoint, you've got a very large project that you need to put multiple people on to color it, number it, and get the project built for the field use. We can gang up on a project through studio sessions where you have multiple users interacting with the drawings and they're not stepping on each other's toes along the way. And then, like I said, it gives their drawings a much more professional and polished look. I'm sure if you've been in this industry for 20 years or more, you probably were doing it with highlighter and paper, and it's not as clean of a look as what you've seen in this presentation. So Autodesk Build, what do we like? Well, centralizes all your file management for the entire life of the project. It keeps you organized. It gives you an easy way to collaborate with contractors and internally with your team. If you're a supervisor of the project and you're not generally stepping foot out on the site, you can easily check in through the web or through your mobile device to see how the project is tracking. It's paperless. We're getting rid of the paper, no more scanning drawings, none of that. Ability to create as-built markups and drawings. This is where we're leveraging two applications together so that we can output a really nice clean set of drawings that are not only clean looking, but they're accurate to the way that project was actually built. And then lastly, ability to export all of our deficiency related issues. So whether you use whatever you're calling it, a punch list or deficiency resolution log, this helps you get all of those DRL or those punch list items organized, and you can output that, like David said, into, you can, with Bluebeam, you can output it into different applications. That way you can start building your actual deficiency list to send to the contractors, or maybe it's building your final deficiency list for your final report. And then in the center here, we just are showing our life cycle for a project. This may or may not be totally applicable to you, but this is how we are currently doing it. And I think we're just on time. So I want to thank everybody for the time today. It's an honor being asked back to speak before you. And if you guys have questions, we're open to that.
Yep. And again, thank you for the time. And I did want to go back a little bit to, the fact that we did cover two specific softwares here. But if your company, if you're utilizing already have adopted another software that performs a lot of the similar actions, I would just say just to maybe consider some of the workflows, consider some of the tools that, whether you have them or you don't have them, or that you have them and are not aware that you could use them in this fashion. Some of these items we've gone over are transferable to other software platforms. So if you're not using Build, but using one of the other competitive softwares, there are transferable skills there, or transferable workflows. With Bluebeam, maybe not as much, but Adobe and there's other softwares out there that do have a lot of similar tools. And so just to kind of cover that, if you're not utilizing these in specific, or you're not looking at adopting anytime soon, there are still options out there for you, within the software that you're operating.
Thank you so much, Matthew and David. We're going to go ahead and start the Q&A session. So audience, if you have any questions, just feel free to go ahead and drop it using the Q&A button. Let me go ahead and start with the sample question first. The first question is going to be, does Bluebeam have a collaboration cloud tool that could be accessed by field technicians?
So yes, that will be the Bluebeam Studio. And as Matt mentioned earlier, that could be utilized to collaborate on let's say, mechanical plans or documents within multiple users. And essentially it has also a check-in and a check-out function for documents. We also utilize it for special projects to collaborate with field technicians. So Bluebeam also they have a mobile app or iOS app that utilizes Bluebeam Studio, and so they can go in there and check out a drawing and or a form and fill it in and then check it back into the cloud. So yes, Bluebeam Studio is the tool that Bluebeam utilizes for that.
Got it. And then I see quite a big comment here. It says that it is apparent that during the construction of a project that you built an important file that can be used for maintenance and sustainability of the project, and perhaps your competitor to take your place in the service of the facility. Is the file offered to the client at the completion of the project? Has any owner requested such file?
I assume we're talking about the mechanical plan. I guess the files that we marked up in the demonstration there. We have had clients that requested access to those files during the construction process. So it may have been general contractors or the clients themselves that wanted to access those files because they're so easy to navigate, and we've had many general contractors that found them to be very useful for their own teams or their mechanical subs. So yes, we've had made those available through the life of a project as well as in the completion at the final report end.
Yeah, it's a general practice for us. We're going to provide the mechanical drawings at the time that we send the report out to the client so that they can correlate the two. Hope that answers that question. If it doesn't, maybe ask it in a slightly different way if we didn't quite answer it for you.
Got it. Thank you, Matthew and David. I'm going to go ahead and use one more of the sample question that says, what would be the best method of comparing plan revisions?
For us, the overlay option has worked great. And then Matt, you can maybe jump in on that as well, but we overlay the plans and having the ability to transpose the colors there, and it makes it very easy to see those differences.
To kind of springboard off that question, one thing that we didn't cover in the presentation, just because there's so much content, we're trying to squeeze this in and not put everybody to sleep with all the features, but the overlay is great for looking at your initial changes. But let's say that we were working on a project that had extensive amount of work on it. Let's say a hospital, an entire floor, a ton of complicated HVAC going on, a lot of overlapping, underlapping ductwork, and they issue like an ASI, and we've got a new drawing, and you've already colored and numbered all of this. There is a feature in Bluebeam called Slip Sheet that allows you to basically slip the new drawing in and transfer all the markups, okay? That is a huge cost savings, like a time saver, like you wouldn't believe. You know, imagine if it took you an hour plus to color an entire drawing and then you get a completely new drawing. Having to manually try to move all of those images over from one set to the other is it's not always in your best interest. So one of the other features that we just didn't spend any time covering today was Slip Sheet, where it helps you get those all those objects transferred over to the newest drawing. So how much the changes affect how much work you're going to have to do is going to just depend completely on what changed. But there's a lot of really powerful features in Bluebeam.
And that's also just to touch on that as well, that's also a very good tool to have an estimating. So all of your bidding marks, whether it's your markups for your field takeoff or it will be your bidding markups, you slip sheet that new page in. And yes, maybe all your bid markups aren't going to align where they did before, but you at least keep the ones that do, and you can just continue counting. Yeah, you can edit them after they've been inserted.
Perfect. Thank you so much. The next question would be, in case it's already answered, what are some common mistakes teams make when implementing document control workflows?
I would say, going back to the beginning of the presentation, is getting all of your contacts figured out as early as possible, and maybe relying on all of your all of your point of contact being multiple people downstream of the person it's actually coming from. I think, like David mentioned, the earlier you can get in touch with the actual people who are responsible for getting you the documents and not having to rely on other people to forward you on what you're looking for, I think that helps us get what we need faster so that we're working with accurate documents as quickly as possible. So we're not having to backtrack and rework either bids or takeoffs because we're not on the current latest version of a drawing, for example. David, I'm sure you've got something to add.
Well, no, that's perfect. I mean, of course, yeah. If the last thing you want to do is create a bid or perform field takeoff work on outdated documents, whether that be plans, submittal. So that's establishing that correct contact, and as well as, you know, when you get to the actual, I guess, document control side, how you're filing your documents is very important. We set standards and protocols for folder naming, for navigation of project folders, just so that all team members have a consistent way that they are accessing the information they need. And it just creates, you know, it just cuts out a lot of confusion, especially when you're dealing with, you know, large projects that may have up to 70 or 80, you know, ASIs and addendums and RFIs and all sorts of changes that are happening on your project. So I would say an issue you can have is by not implementing some consistent and standardized folder or organization structure, you can suffer a lot of setbacks from that.
Got it. Thank you. Before I move on to the next questions, I'm quickly going to say that if you have any questions, feel free to just click on the Q&A button and drop them in. So the next question is by Matthew, and it says, would you be willing to share the tool sets for Bluebeam for others to see how you built them?
Sure, absolutely. Building the tool sets, that's not a hard process. The nice thing about Bluebeam is tool sets can be built around any customized markup that you make. So whether you decide you want an icon to represent an air handling unit, if you're doing a bidding estimate, any tool that you use and create a representation of that on the print, there's a very quick way of adding that to a tool chest and creating a custom tool chest. So I think building the tool chest, you'll find it's rather simple. But the next step from there will be to standardize your tool chest, which is just as a simple of a process, but you will basically work towards standardizing or creating one initially and then exporting it so others can import it. And then that way, if you have 3 estimators, everybody is using the same tool chest. But yes, absolutely, we'd be willing to show you how to create one.
To follow up on that, I suppose maybe somebody could collect some email addresses, because like David said, the tools can be exported and sent. It's not real hard to do, but we would need to know who to send them to.
Got it. Maybe what I can suggest here is, Matthew, you can drop us an email at meetings@aabc.com. And if in case anybody else would like that too, you can just drop us an email. And then we can make sure that we connect you with the speakers, so that way they can get the resource.
Perfect.
Great. I see the next question. It says, what steps can companies take to transition from paper-based to digital document management?
I would say, I mean, definitely explore some of the options that even we have in this presentation, but also, you know, take the small steps. I'm sure many of us are utilizing maybe, let's say, Windows machines, or focus on the organization of maybe your files and your folder structures, and and just creating some protocols for streamlining the flow of information, and then scaling from there to, okay, the next software solution. And there are a lot of software solutions out there. So I would definitely explore them. And as far as from a cost basis, there's a wide variety out there. So I would definitely just begin on your server side or on your machine side. If you're utilizing SharePoint or you're utilizing OneDrive, look at the capabilities that you have there, because there are a lot of them, even on some of these standard Microsoft products that you have, and then scale up from there. If you're looking at collaborating with field technicians and having them share their mechanical drawings, and build is a great option as well. So that would be my suggestion there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, David. I do not see any questions in here at the moment. So if we still have about 4 more minutes, if in case anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop it. In the meantime, I would just ask Matthew and David if in case there's any more information that you'd like to share or something that you definitely feel that the audience should know. Now is like the chance. So you can go ahead and just let us know that.
I never get free time at the end. Unprepared. Well, I would just reiterate that I've been working for Engineered around since we were doing everything handwritten. I have the scars on my hands to prove it. And kind of to touch on that question that was previously asked, you know, we essentially took all of our handwritten, they weren't handwritten data sheets, they were all like forms, and we literally just translated that into like Excel documents and kind of homebrewed the whole thing to begin with. So for any of you out there that are still doing it the old way, highly recommend exploring some of these options, because it really can help set your business apart from the competition. And you know, it seems like there's more competition, just it's constantly growing. It's not going away. It's getting more fierce out there. So I think it's important that we keep the standards high and we try to deliver the best, not only the best product service-wise, but the best looking tangible product, which is our test and balance report and our drawings, and that we're not getting left behind.
And I would just like to jump back onto that previous question about you know, stepping into the software solutions. If you're working with your general contractors, you have a close relationship with them, or even maybe your mechanical contractors, or if you're on the estimating side and you're dealing with the bidding boards, I would definitely utilize the access they provide you to demo the software and kind of look at it and see if it's something that works for you. Most of the time, if you are being invited from a general contractor to, let's say, access Procore or Build, they're applying a license for you. And so they have like an unlimited license model. And so you're not only, you know, have the advantage of having access to the information that you need at that point, but you're also now able to demo that software for how maybe you could utilize it. And there are different levels of the licensing agreement. So depending on the size of your company, it may work out for you as well. But definitely, when, like we talked about, points of contacts, making those points of contacts to the general contractors and trying to obtain that access as soon as possible for as many of the projects as you have. I mean, we deal with a lot of new builds, but also, you know, renovations and even, you know, service type work with facility managers over time. And I'd say that at this point, 9 out of 10 of the customers that we deal with are using some sort of software platform. And again, a lot of times it's just a matter of asking for that access. And in a lot of cases, they have an unlimited license model. And so it's just them, you know, having them add you to the project. So definitely, I would say just kind of be proactive in that sense, and try to obtain access to as many of these platforms as possible before maybe exploring them for yourself as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Matthew and David. with that, we can go ahead and wrap today's presentation. Again, I would like to go ahead and thank the sponsors, EAB Training. Onto this slide, if you want to go ahead and level up your expertise in testing and balancing, join us for the AABC Eastern Regional TAB Seminar on March 25th at the Baltimore Convention Center. This one-day event is designed for building operators, engineers, and commissioning professionals to gain practical insights, earn CEU credits, and also connect with industry experts. So if you need some more information on this, or if you'd like to go ahead and register, please head to aabc.com. Again, thank you so much, speakers, and also to everyone who attended today's webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.